season, but Sempat yet to get a podium this year, and I'm sure he'll be looking forward to trying to put an end to that drought here.
Yeah, yet to get a podium this season. Second row start, his best in Junior GP. We'll go from P4 once again. Couldn't quite go with the lead group this morning. We'll hope that some fine-tuning on the bike will allow him to follow that lead group and potentially be in contention for a podium.
So as the grid is formed and we get going on the warm-up lap, Brian Uriarte, your championship leader, heads from pole alongside Jesus Rios and Marco Morelli. Sempat, Veda Pratama and Rico Salmel look to stop him on the second row, with Casey O'Gorman, Evan Belfort in the air. So is that Nicholas on the number 37 back in shot for the AGR team? And a slight delay to things. A little bit more pressure to think about things. The red lights, though, are now on, and away we go finally. Brian Uriarte does lead the charge through the 51. He sorts his way towards turn one. We can see now the 37 has got the machine going, and he leaves pit lane. Marco Morelli, though, a cracking start for himself. The 97 on the Honda. The MLAV racing machine does lead on the run to turn one. Joel Esteban already up into the podium positions. Can he claim second? Nearly. A little bit of contact, though, between himself and Veda Pratama, but luckily both of them staying on. Brian Uriarte has been pushed back down to P5 as things stand. He's sitting at the moment just behind Jesus Rios, of course, race one winner, but so far a nice clean start. Casey O'Gorman also trying to get himself into the mix.
A nice clean start for Uriarte and for Joel Esteban. Very similar to what we saw in race one, just straight up into the podium positions. Just in P4 at the moment, although looking to make the move on Rios at turn 5, doesn't make it stick, with Uriarte just behind.
Now, though, a little bit wide on the exit for Jesus Rios. He doesn't want the likes of Marco Morelli or Veda Pratama to run away with things. Looking at the inside for a move that was Brian Uriarte. Has he been able to make that one work? We're going to have to wait and see, as he's sitting in around P4 as things stand. But heading through nice and clean through turn 9. And then, once again, slipstream will play a big factor. So Uriarte is ahead of Jesus Rios on this opening lap, but will all change at turn 10, you would suggest so?
You would, yeah. Uriarte defending through the outs, just sweeping across turn 10 there to retain P3, with Rios just behind and Esteban slotting into P5. Casey O'Gorman also in this lead group, as he was this morning.
Yeah, Brian Uriarte there, a nice line through turn 10, and Joel Esteban being the real loser of turn 10, as he's back down to P5. He did then to the corner in around third, and then dropped all the way down. So we head out of the final corner to complete the first lap of action. It is Marco Morelli who leads away by half a second over Veda Pratama. Brian Uriarte facing match point here in Barcelona. He sits in third, but he's going to have company at turn 1, you would suggest. Into the braking zone we go now, and Adrian Cruces up the inside he goes, slots into P4, and once again Joel Esteban moving back down the order, down into P7.
A fast start from Esteban, but as you say, dropping down the order. Uriarte down 2 places from his starting position, but no problem for the number 51 as it stands. It looks like Morelli is trying to break away. He wants to run this race at his own pace, on his own.
Yeah, you would suggest that's the case, but the thing for Morelli, if he was to finish first and the likes of Brian Uriarte was to finish second or third, it would still be championship done. And at the moment, as Veda Pratama has a twitch on the front and the entry to turn 5, they almost need the biggest group possible in this league group to start messing up each other and to start messing up each other's lines and pace onto the straights. But nonetheless, Marco Morelli's decided he doesn't want anything to do with this as he heads off into the lead. Pratama is under a lot of pressure from your championship leader who looks up the inside at turn 9. And well, you would say if he doesn't make it at turn 9, he's going to be looking for a move at turn 10. Brian Uriarte in the slipstream. He's going to pull out of it now into the braking zone. Up the inside he looks at Veda Pratama, but thinks better of it.
Pratama defending very well on the brakes through turn 10. Turn 9 is not the usual overtaking opportunity. We've seen it a few times, but very, very difficult to put off. Different lines here through turn 12 as Uriarte looks to take as much corner speed as possible, be as close to the rear wheel of Pratama as he can on the back straight.
we head towards the start-finish line yet again. Look at the gap already formed. Down the inside at the final corner, Brian Uriarte goes, and well, away goes into second position, trying to catch on to the back of Marco Morelli, trying to break the pace of the riders ahead. No surprise there, fastest lap going the way of the 97, a 1:47.678. As well, Jesus Rios in the slipstream of Uriarte. Will he launch a move at turn 1? No, he will not. Casey O'Gorman, though, does on Esteban.
With Morelli, he's now more than a
race one before he then got pipped and was actually shoved off the podium entirely. So perhaps he's just decided to himself that he's forgetting about any championship odds and is just going
them and running second fairly lonely.
As Rico Salmela, we look further down this order, but Rico Salmela, he entered the weekend second in the championship. For him currently, P8 in the race. It's not been maybe the weekend that he'd hoped for so far. This is how things stand, however, and it would be Brian Uriarte continuing to lead the championship, and that of course would be enough with only 50 points remaining up for grabs this season. But how long will he remain in second position as the likes of Rios looks for a move, and O'Gorman of course on the run to turn 1 now. We enter the braking zone, Doctor's Dangle for Brian Uriarte, and somehow he holds on to it. He's fast in a straight line, that's for sure.
Uriarte has just enough to defend from the number 67.
And currently the gap between Morelli and Uriarte sits at 1.1 seconds, so we'll keep our eye on that gap and see if it closes at all over the next few laps. Of course, if they start battling with the number 51, you would suggest it is going to get even bigger, but nonetheless, however, just over 4 seconds Morelli's gap now sits. He continues to stretch that margin out, and well, it's simply impressive stuff. He's making his way towards the start-finish line now as we make our way out of the final corner. And well, it's going to be another run to the line for Brian Uriarte. Each lap is a good sign just to see if he can hold on to that advantage at the line, so he knows what sort of position that he does need to be in for this final lap if he wants to hold on to it.
It does, although it looks like he hasn't been able to hold it this time around. He goes into the corner second behind the number 27 Samuel, and then drops down to P4, potentially P5 with Danish on the inside for turn 3. It's all a very big group through the opening corners of this lap. This is exactly what Uriarte didn't want at this stage of the race.
Yeah, so Jesus Rios at the moment up into second position for to finish. He's proved yet again he doesn't want to let anyone get ahead of him. However, all talking points are soon going to turn to Brian Uriarte. It's Morelli who leads, but it's Uriarte who sits 1 lap away from becoming the Junior GP World Champion.
Encouragement from the pit wall there as they head on to the last lap. The number 51 in prime position right now, although it's going to be a big group of riders heading into the braking zone at turn 1. We wait to see. Oh, there's a big crash in the background.
Big crash in the background on the main straight. And of course we'll have to wait and see what happens. We look back at this incident, and there was some contact in the middle of the pack that sent Hakim Dinesh to the right hand side of the circuit, and then into the path of the number 10 of Adrian Cruces. He was running in P7, but well, it's been no fault of his own. Suddenly his race was over. What happens with that one? Of course, double yellows will be waving there for the rest of the field, but Brian Uriarte sitting in second. Red flag now out. So the red flag out. Uriarte showing his frustration with that one. That was Adrian Cruces. And actually, I think he's realising exactly what